Hello, this is Jason with JAnyone, and today I wanted to do a review of a phone that I'm currently using, and that is the Mi Max phone by Xiaomi. This is a phone that's not available routinely in the US, so I had to purchase it, and it came from China, and then I had to make it work for me here in the US. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that and why I decided to go this route. Previously, I was using this phone, the Note 5 from Samsung, a phone that I really love very much. I have nothing but good things to say about it. However, and you can just see the difference in size there, I wanted to have the biggest phone that I possibly could, and so I started looking for other options. Initially, I went with this phone. It's the Blue Studio 7.0 II. And while I love the size very much, unfortunately the performance just wasn't there with only 1 GB of RAM, so I started looking for something else, and that was when I landed on the Mi Max by Xiaomi. So a couple of things that I love about the Mi Max: it's an Android phone. It is plug and play, and it does play nice with a SIM card, so if you have a carrier like AT&T or T-Mobile, like in my case, you can just open it right up and start using it, even though it's not native to this country. The phone itself has, I think, a 13 megapixel camera. The performance of it is great, 3 GB of RAM, and so compared to what you're used to from iPhone or Samsung, it really holds its own. Not only that, it's very affordable. You can get one of these unlocked and brand new on eBay for easily under $250. I found a case that I really like, and it's pretty slim, but I'm going to take it out of the case just to show you. It's a really sleek and nice phone. So you can see it there. A couple of things I like about it: it has a fingerprint scanner there on the back. So if the phone is locked, just lets you unlock it by touching the fingerprint back there. You can also integrate that into purchasing options on apps. Now, the couple of drawbacks that I found. One is that because it's not native to the US market, it didn't have a US setting when I was setting the phone up, so I had to set it on settings for the Bahamas. Ultimately, that didn't really affect me in any significant way. Second thing is, currently this phone only supports 3G in the US as opposed to 4G. I thought that would be a deal killer, but honestly, I've found the difference between 3G and 4G hasn't been terribly significant. Web browsing isn't noticeably slower, so really hasn't been that big of a deal, maybe as much as you might think. Plus, of course, when you're on Wi-Fi, it's a different experience anyway. So that was the one drawback that I was concerned about. The other thing I will say is that I did have to sometimes find apps to replace some of the native apps. So probably the best example is the texting app that was on board with this phone. It did not support group texting very well. But that was alright. I was able to find another texting app that I really like called Textra, and so that problem was solved. It does have all of the, as an Android phone, it supports all of the Microsoft apps, so I have Outlook, although the native email platform on this phone has been very good. One thing that's a little odd is that it doesn't have a button to list or go to all of your apps, so I just have to have all of the apps on the desktop. That hasn't been a problem. The desktop goes on forever, but that's a little bit different, I think, than the Android experience that most people are used to. And then the only other thing that was odd was, for whatever reason, the Amazon app was not supported on this phone. However, I was able to find an app called Amazon Underground, and as far as I can tell, it's the same app and integrates with Amazon in the same way. Netflix, Firefox, all of the typical apps that you want to use on your phone on an Android device have been great on this phone. And so ultimately my review is if you're willing to just go with a couple of workarounds, I definitely give this phone thumbs up. The version I got is 3 gigabytes of RAM. They actually make a 4 gigabyte one, so you could even get a higher performance. The only drawback being the 3G, but it hasn't been that big of a deal. But in every other way, it's been a great phone. Holds its own next to any iPhone or Samsung any day of the week, and at $230 for brand new unlocked, you really can't beat it. So that's my review of the Xiaomi Mi Max. It gets looks every time people see it because it really is noticeably bigger than everyone else's phone. Sometimes you just want to be the guy with the biggest phone in the room. That's Jason for JAnyone, and hopefully you've enjoyed this review of the Xiaomi Mi Max.